Alright, how's it going, guys? I just wanted to do a little video. I finally got my RAM, my extra 12 gigabytes of RAM, and my two Xeon X5672 processors. They're 3.2 gigahertz each. They quad up to, or they turbo up to like 3.6, I believe. So I'm going to do a quick video of installing them in the Z800 Workstation, just so I can show you guys how everything works. So like I said before, if you guys want a budget video editing PC, there's no better way to go, in my opinion, than buying an older workstation, a used one, and just adding a little bit of extra stuff into it. You know, it's way cheaper than building a PC, and it's going to be way more powerful, because when it comes to encoding video, it uses pretty much only your CPUs. For doing video 3D rendering and rendering video, it uses your video card, but to just edit video and then encode it, it uses pretty much your CPU. So the more powerful CPU you have, the more cores you have, the faster it's going to go. So this is the kind of machine you want for that kind of thing, and you can get them for so cheap. It's not even funny. You can get the last generation before these for even cheaper, and they're still plenty powerful enough, you know. So this is the way to go for cheap video editing. So hold on one second. Alright guys, so this is the HP Z800 Workstation that I did the videos on before, and in this video I just want to show you how easy it is to switch out parts. When I got it, it came with two quad core processors that were 2.67 gigahertz, and I bought some really cheap 3.2 gigahertz processors, but they were the last generation, the 5500 series Xeon, and they only have 6 megabytes of cache, and they run at 130 watts instead of 95 watts. So I went ahead and got two of the newer ones that are 3.2 gigahertz as well. They're 95 watts instead of 130, and they have 12 megabytes of cache. So they'll run a little cooler and a little quicker, and they turbo up a little higher too. These ones only turbo to like 3.4, I believe, and the new ones I bought, I think they turbo to 3.67 or something like that. So, but basically I just wanted to show you how easy it is to switch parts out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the power just to make sure it doesn't turn on me while I'm doing this. That's it right there. Just pull that out. I still have everything else hooked up. You don't have to unplug everything, just the power basically. Unless you're gonna, you know, take the video card out or something like that, and you want to unhook that. But basically, you just pull this, and it pops right off. All right. So then, to get to the rest of it, to get to the processors and the RAM, you need to pull this part off right here. That's it. And then just to get it out of the way, and so you can see the rest of it, I'm going to pull this bottom part out here. That's my NVIDIA GeForce GTX 970 video card that I put in. You don't need one of those so much for if you're only video editing. It does help, but it doesn't really, I mean, you could get away without having something like that. I got it mainly to help with video editing and rendering. The big thing it helps on is 3D rendering. So and gaming, you know, if you play games. So but I'm gonna get this laid on its side, and I'm gonna reposition the camera so you guys can see what I'm doing. So be right back. Alright guys, so this is the best way I could set it to where you can see everything that's going on here. I know it's gonna be kind of upside down, but it should be alright. So to get to the RAM, you just gotta take these two fans out right here, and all you gotta do is just pull these little tabs down and pull up on it, and it pops right out. So it's pretty cool. And then to get to the processors, we just got to take these two heat sinks off. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put the RAM in. Well, yeah, I'll do the processors first. That way everything's out of the way, and I'll do the RAM with the heat sinks out because they'll be out of the way. So give me 1 second, and I will grab my screwdriver and start taking these out. Alright, so I got my screwdrivers. I'm going to go ahead and take these out. First thing you got to do is disconnect the little fan headers. There's one right here. And there's one right here. Make sure you don't pull on the cables, pull on the actual plastic part. And then what you do is you just... By the way, these require a hex bit, which I don't know why they did that. I hate when they do that kind of crap. Everything else is a normal Phillips head, and these require a hex head. I don't know why. They should have just done a normal Phillips head. It's kind of stupid, but you know, maybe they didn't want people that weren't technicians to mess with these or something. I don't know, but to me it's kind of dumb. They should have just done Phillips heads. Doesn't make sense for everything else to be a Phillips head and these to be freaking hex bits. But hey, whatever. There you go. And then what you want to do too is whenever you switch this, make sure you get some thermal compound and you wipe all the old stuff off. And you put some new thermal compound, spread it nice and even on the new processors before you put these back on. There you go. Alright, then to get the processors out, all you gotta do is push this little bar down and pull it out towards you, or out towards the top, and then flip this over. Make sure you clean all the old thermal compound off of everything before you put the new ones in. There's the old ones. And whenever you're messing with these processors, make sure you don't touch the top where the heat spreader's at. That's this flat metal part here, or the bottom, because you don't want to get your finger oils on those, because that could cause problems with heat transfer, and it could cause problems on the bottom there where it touches the pins. So make sure you clean those off real good. If you did touch them, just clean it off with like some alcohol, an alcohol wipe or something like that. Alright, and then make sure when you put the CPUs back in, on these there's no little arrow like there is on normal motherboards. Usually there's a gold arrow and then there's an arrow that lines these up, but on these there's two little knobs right here that stick out into the socket, and that lines up with these. So I mean, you really can't put it in there wrong unless you don't seat it all the way. So just sit them in there and make sure they don't shift around. Like I said, try not to touch the top of the heat spreader. So make sure they're seated in there all the way, and both these little notches on the side are lined up. And then I'd put it in like that. And do the same with this side. There you go. And then just take something and put some thermal paste on there, and then just take something and kind of spread it evenly. You don't have to do that. You could just put a blob in the middle, and when you put the heat sinks on, it'll spread it out, but I like to spread mine out evenly. That way I know it's, you know, even across the whole surface. So alright, let me get my thermal compound, and I'll get the RAM put in, and then we'll put the thermal compound on, we'll spread it, and we'll put the heat sinks back on. That'll be it. So I'll be right back. Alright, so now that I got the new CPUs in, I'm going to go ahead and put the RAM in first, and then I'm going to put the thermal paste on and put the heat sinks back in there. So I actually got a couple extra sticks of RAM. I bought eight more, so that I have a couple extras in case, you know, a couple of them extra ever go bad or anything like that. So you don't really need to do that, but the RAM doesn't go bad too often, and if it does, usually almost every RAM manufacturer gives you a lifetime warranty on RAM. I'm not sure about ECC RAM, but with regular RAM, they give you a lifetime warranty on most of it. So what you want to do when you put RAM in, if you don't know, is just make sure that this little notch, it's uneven. It's got a longer side and then a shorter side. Make sure that lines up with the way the slot is for the RAM. Just put it in there. Make sure it's down in the slot, and then push it down evenly on left and right side, and these little clips will clip back in. And then I always just check them, you know, push them in. You usually don't have to do that, but I do it just to be on the safe side, because I've had some of them where when you push them in, they didn't quite go clip in all the way, so I just check it just to be on the safe side, that's all. Usually you can hear them clip in, so. Alright, let's do these. And once I get all these in, I should have 24 gigabytes of RAM. There's 2 per stick, and there's 12 total. And then I have 2 extra sticks just in case one of them happens to go bad or something like that. Alright, so all the RAM's in there. And then what I do to put on the thermal paste is, usually my thermal paste came with a little spreader, but I don't know what happened to it, so I just take an old gift card and just kind of cut it into like a little spatula type of thing. And it just helps you with spreading it around even. Alright, and what I do is I just put a little line on one side. Alright, at this point I had a little bit of a video glitch, and just for some reason it kind of went all crazy, so I just had to skip past the little part where I added both the lines of heatsink compounds, so, and just evenly spread it all the way across. It doesn't have to be a thick layer, just a real thin layer. I just make sure that it gets all the way across, that way I know it's even. You know, and some people just put a dab in the middle, which works okay too, but, you know, I like making sure it's even, so. Because if you put a little pea-sized dab in the middle, or a little, you know, smaller even, when you put the heatsink on, usually it'll spread it pretty evenly. As long as you put it on the center. And you push it straight down, but, you know, I like to make sure that it's spread like that. That way I know I have thermal compound all over the top of the heat spreader, evenly across, and I know that it's all the way evenly spread on the bottom of the heat sink when it connects to it, so I don't have to worry about it. I have put a heatsink on before, and when I did it, I didn't put it on exactly straight, and it kind of smushed out all the compound on one side, so the other side of the top of the processor didn't even have any heatsink compound on it. You know, and that was my fault because I didn't put it on straight, but this way, when you do this, you don't have to worry about that, so. Alright, so there we go. Like I said, all you need is a thin layer. See, I have some left on here. So if there's any left on there, that's fine. Just wipe it off on a paper towel. Alright, now that we got that spread, I cleaned the bottom of the heat sinks too, so they're nice and clean. So I'm going to put these back on. And in here it makes it kind of idiot proof. It says CPU fan side, which means it goes this way. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this first. This one's kind of a pain in the butt to get to. But there's all these other wires and stuff in the way. This one's pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and just get these started. What I do is I just start each one a couple turns first. And then just go corner to corner like that. And tighten it all the way down until it stops. And then it's pretty much flush, and then you can just tighten down the other two. And then I go around and recheck them all just to make sure they're all snug. Now these, you don't want to crank them real tight, you just snug them. Just once they stop, just give it a little tug and make sure that it's snug. You don't want to crank them real hard. These aren't like, you know, car bolts here, you know. Alright, and then let's put this one in. All you gotta do is just line up the holes and just kind of drop it in there and it sits in place. Like I said, I just start, you know, with each corner like this and get it started. Get these two started. And I'll tighten these two first, just to make sure they're flush and it's evenly, you know, it's not leaning forward or backwards. And then I run these two down. And like I said, once you get them all down, just go around, recheck them, make sure they're tight. And that's it. And then what you do is just take your RAM fan, put it back in. Like so, and just push down. Just make sure it's clipped into place and make sure your plug's all the way in. Alright. Then just take this, clip it into place. Take this one and clip it into place, and you're done. So, and then what I actually do is I don't put this one on when I first start the computer because I want to make sure that all these fans are spinning. The two CPU fans, the RAM fans, and the fans in the back, just make sure they're all spinning. And then I'll go ahead and throw this on. So I'm going to get everything repositioned and I'll get her fired up. Alright, sorry if you hear any background noise. I had to turn the air on. It was getting a little too warm in here. So I got everything hooked up. I got the computer stood up and got it plugged back in. So now we're going to go ahead and start it up, and I'm going to show you what I was talking about making sure all these fans are spinning. So just keep an eye on those fans right there. There we go. All 6 of them are spinning. Not sure if you can actually see them all spinning, but you know, I'll try to move the camera around a little bit. But they're all spinning, so it's getting ready to start up. Let's see if I can turn it to the screen here so you can see it. Alright, and there we go. See, and that automatically detected my new setup. 24.57 or 24,576 megabytes, which means 24 gigabytes. And just press F1 to save changes, and it'll automatically save it. And now it'll restart. Alright, and then like I said a few minutes ago, once I get it all up and running and check everything, I'm going to put this cover back on. So it's really easy. You just hook these two back metal pieces in here and just push it in place, and it pops in place. And then to put the side cover on, you just set it in here in the bottom, and it falls right into place, and then snap it like that, and that's it. And there it is. And it just started up, so we're going to check it out, see what we got here. Alright. So I'm going to do the rest of it on, I'm going to just do a screen recording. It'll be a little easier, so. But you see this thing that just popped up. It says you must restart your computer to apply these changes, and that's because, probably because I added the new RAM and the CPUs, so it probably installed drivers and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and restart it. Once I restart it, I will do a screen capture and show you all the specs and stuff like that. So be right back. Alright, so I got the Z800 started back up, and the program I'm using right here is HP Performance Advisor, and it's basically a free program that that's made for their workstation PCs that gives you the detailed specs. Actually, it's pretty cool. It shows you what's in what socket, you know, CPU and RAM wise and PCI slots and things like that. And then you can also record your performance while you're actually using it for different things, and then you can play it back and see where you're lacking or what's using, you know, what resources, things like that. So right now I'm just kind of going around and showing you the different. This is the main screen. Shows you what CPUs you got in the sockets, what RAM you got in each socket, what hard drives you have plugged into the SATA or the SAS controllers, what video card you have on what PCI slot, things like that. So it's really cool. And this slot here, this is the only one that doesn't show, the PCI slot there was the only one that didn't actually show exactly what was in it. That's a PCI SATA 3 adapter that I put in there so that my SSD I'm using for my boot drive will be SATA 3 6 gigabytes instead of SATA 2 3 gigabytes. So and then like how you're watching, when you click on a certain item, it brings up the details of what's in that slot or whatever. So, and then once I'm done showing you these, I'll click on the this one here, hardware overview, and it's basically all the same information but without that picture to click on. It's like your hardware information or your device manager on Windows. Just gives you the details of all the different devices and things like that. Alright guys, so that's enough for this video. It's getting to be pretty long, so I'm going to end it. I'm actually going to make another video though, showing the editing performance of the PC and some benchmarks and things like that right after this, so check that one out. And if you like this video, please leave me a like and subscribe. Thanks.